We'll call the Board of Zoning Appeals to order. Would you please stand for the pledge? Pledge allegiance. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Call a roll, please.
Mike Curtis.
Here.
Amber Brown.
Here.
Jerry Sartain.
Here.
Gary Farley.
Here.
Renee Curtis.
Here.
Patrick Hale. Zane Cantrell.
Present.
We have a quorum.
You have the minutes before you that was sent out. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes?
Move be approved, Mr. Chairman.
Be approved. Have a
Second.
second. Call a roll, please.
Mike Curtis.
Yes.
Amber Brown.
Yes.
Jerry Sartain.
Yes.
Gary Farley.
Yes.
Renee Curtis.
Yes.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. For those of you who may be here on the Jasper Johnson Road request by Rocky Victory, that has been delayed till next month. As far as we know at this time, it'll be September before that comes before us. So it will not be discussed in any way today. First item of business, we have a request by Stephenson, who is requesting a special exemption for a home-based business of yoga classes. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2023-27 involves the property located at 214 Stephenson Way. It's a 15-acre site that's zoned residential medium, and it's located within the Royal Glen subdivision. And the applicant is seeking special exception to approve a major home-based business involving yoga classes. The classes will be limited to 20 participants and will take place on the property grounds. The area used for the yoga classes is surrounded by trees on 3 sides and an open pasture on the 4th. There will be no exterior modifications to accommodate the business, and the applicant will provide on-site parking near the barn. No signage is proposed. Classes will be offered on Saturdays during the hours of 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., and no additional employees are proposed. This is the result of a call that was made to our office, and code enforcement investigated, and once notified, the applicant immediately came in to resolve any unapproved issues. The applicant is asking to deviate from the home-based business criteria that limits the number of customer-client visits in any one day and no more than 5 customer clients at any one time. They would like the ability to increase this number of clients to 20 at a time, and they also could easily accommodate 30 visitors in this space. So staff reviewed it with the conditions of major home-based businesses in mind, and staff recommends that, provided that the applicant continually comply with the remaining provisions of major home-based businesses, it should meet those criteria. And this is where we posted the zoning sign. The structure, the home in question, and the barn is located here in the back. And it's...
Can I ask for clarification? Are you saying that you found that the 20 would not affect as long as they did everything else, or are you saying?
Right. He is asking for an exception to that limit. It's within your powers to grant that exception, and should you decide to approve, I would recommend the condition allowing up to 20 participants.
Thank you.
And remaining in compliance with the other provisions. So this is the drive that people will use to access the barn parking area and surrounding areas. It's just a large site at the end of a cul-de-sac. And these are the areas where the activity is going to take place from Stephenson Way. So it's quite a bit of ways from the cul-de-sac, and the area where the classes will be offered is within this treed area. And I believe the applicant has some photos to present when they're ready. We did receive many phone calls in favor of the request, approximately 10, and 2 calls in opposition.
Go ahead.
On those calls that came in, did you all find out, do they live around there?
Yes, they gave addresses of Annandale Street and Stephenson Court and Stephenson Way.
So there were that many in favor of it that live there?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions of our staff?
I do have a question.
Patrick?
So how many classes per day would there be? You said 20 per class, but is there more than one class?
It looks like they're only offering classes on Saturdays during the hour of 9 a.m. to 11. So I don't know if that's going to be a total of 2 classes during that time period. The applicant, I'm sure, can answer that question.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. Come to the podium, give us your name and any additional information you want to share about the yoga classes.
I'm Rick Stephenson. I'm the executive director for Boudreaux's Equine Rescue and Sanctuary. And you were asking about the classes. It'll be 1 class per week. It's not a traditional business. We have a horse rescue, and this is a fundraiser, so to speak. We have classes not every week. Sometimes we take a couple of weeks off, but what we're actually trying to do is generate buzz on social media to get people talking about the horses. We basically have a twofold mission where we try to reduce suffering for horses and people, and we're trying to share our horses' stories. This was an attempt to share the stories with minimal impact on our neighborhood. You can see this is the area where the yoga actually takes place. If you go through the slides, I can explain them as we go. That's the other side where the yoga takes place. That's the barn with a camper on the side, and that's actually my daughter's car parked next to it. We can fit 30 cars parked around the barn. If you go to the next slide, the driveway is 900 feet from the cul-de-sac, so you can't see who's parked down there. It's isolated. In the next slide. That shows the distance from the barn to the yoga area on the right there. So it's about, I think it's 75 to 100 feet from the barn to the yoga area. Everybody walks down there. They go down a little trail. And there's actually an awning attached to the barn. If it rains, we just do it under there.
Got a question here.
Yes, sir.
Let me get it clear in my brain here. You all want to have a yoga class outside of 20 people once a week to talk about horses.
Exactly.
I want to make sure I understood it right. Okay.
Well, you see, what we've got is, there's a fence that lines that little grassy area, and I'll put about 10 piles of alfalfa on the other side of that fence, and the horses will come and they'll graze right there against the fence. And everybody does their yoga. When they're done with the yoga, we give the horses carrots, and we tell their stories. And that's how we're furthering our mission.
Haven't you ever seen yoga in the rain?
If I was going to a yoga class, I wouldn't be going to talk about horses. That's just me. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
I would
we're
love
not-
to
we're-
see
it's
you
not-
in a yoga class, Gary Farley. I would love to see you in a yoga class.
If I may, it's not just about the horses, it's about their stories. We've got 4 rescues from kill pens, we've got 2 surrenders, and we've got 1 that's a retired show horse. So we tell our horses' stories, we tell about the auction industry, how the horses are treated when they're sent to the slaughter auctions. And a lot of people just don't know about that, and they're interested to know. So
Amber's got a question.
And just another clarity, it's just one day, and that's Saturday, 9 to 11, okay.
yoga from 9 to 10, and then from 10 to 11, we give the horses treats
and-
and tell their story.
Okay. And is there, by any chance, noise? I don't know what's, I think of yoga and I think silence and kind of relaxation, so.
There's no noise, and the yoga area is actually cul-de-sac to where we're actually doing it. And it's surrounded by trees, so.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you. May be seated at this time.
Thank you.
I think we've got a good idea. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who would like to speak on this. Come to the podium, give us your name. You have 3 minutes.
Somebody has this on, a couple of things on PowerPoint. That's you, okay. My name's Rick Gobble. I live at 447 Annandale in Murfreesboro in the Royal Glen subdivision. I back up my property, his property backs up to mine, or I back up to his property on the north end. Our neighborhood has approximately 200 homes, of which all of our members are owners of our association. I understand Mr. Stephenson is asking for permission to discuss. We do have restricted covenants in our neighborhood. Very good restricted covenants, been there since 1996. And one of our restricted covenants is you can't operate a business in our subdivision. And there's procedures. We put one up there. That's our restricted covenants. And the next one says you can't operate a business in our subdivision. Just that simple. The next one, please. This is the business that Mr. Stephenson is operating. No one. This is what's on his website. And there's a picture about every Saturday morning. There's just a picture down at the bottom. That shows the yoga classes, what they cost. And there's a picture there, about 7 or 8 cars up there about every Saturday morning. No big, that's not the issue. The issue is we have restricted covenants. And what do we do with restricted covenants? We have provisions in our restricted covenants how to get them amended. The members must vote. 75% of our members can amend the restricted covenants. So Mr. Stephenson could get the restricted covenants amended, allow him to have a business. The issues we have with this, and I'll try to do it real quick, 3 minutes runs pretty fast. Mr. Stevens already started this business. He started shortly after he moved here 2 or 3 years ago, or whenever he did. It doesn't really matter. The business is going now. There's been complaints in our neighborhood. We also have restricted covenants on how many horses Mr. Stephenson can have. He can have 5. He's got 7. There's been complaints filed on that. Not by me. I've not filed any complaints. Mr. Stephenson disregarded the restricted covenants on number of horses. He disregarded the restricted covenants on operating a business without getting the restricted covenants changed. And of course the issue is this, I oppose the exception because where do we stop? If we allow Mr. Stephenson to have a business in our neighborhood, anyone else that wants to have a business will come before this body and ask for permission and a worthy cause. He has a worthy cause. We appreciate that. But like a lady posted on Facebook, well, I want to, if this is successful, I'd like to house, and she actually said illegal immigrants. And then what we tell the guy that wants to do details on cars in our neighborhood for a business or sells cars off of his parking lot. Once we permit one business to operate in our association, then we're pretty well stuck to allowing about anybody else that wants to too. So what I suggest we do is remand this back to the association and that Mr. Stephenson get permission, get the amendments changed to the association to allow him to do what he's doing. Thank you for my
Thank you. Anyone else? Come forward, please.
Hello, my name is Charles Powell. I live at 206 Stephenson Way, just 2 doors down from Mr. Stephenson. My main concern is if you add 20 more cars at least once a week on the streets of the neighborhood, we have no green space, we don't have any sidewalks, and our kids play in these streets. My residents, they use the roads to walk, jog, walk their dogs on. People bought in this neighborhood knowing that it was a safe place from the traffic. Because the rules were set by the HOA and the builders. I don't know Mr. Stephenson personally, and this might not have any bearing on your decision, but Mr. Stephenson is currently on the neighborhood HOA board. He also currently and knowingly is breaking 2 of the HOA covenants. As the other gentleman stated, The business, it strictly says in the covenants, you're not allowed to have a business. The livestock, it states 5 horses and or 5 cows. Well, he has 7 horses. I live southwest of Mr. Stephenson, so whenever it's humid and the wind kind of drifts that way, I get the horse smell. I get the horse flies. I get the extra flies. It's really gotten bad over the last 2 years. But for one, and I just can't trust Mr. Stephenson to follow these guidelines. He's already breaking the rules he's supposed to uphold and make everyone else, follow. If he's breaking those, how can he follow y'all's guidelines? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Julie Dunn, and I'm the wife of Mr. Stephenson and the co-owner of the property, and just wanted to clarify some things. And first is, the only reason we're here is because someone filed a complaint. We didn't realize we had a business, but we were told we had to go through this route and not just through our neighborhood. So that's why we're here. We still would have to deal with the HOA, and we know that. So that, we're here. We paid $750 to be here, and, that is it. There are other businesses in our neighborhood. We know that. They show up on Google, but, that's not the issue at hand, and I realize that. But I just wanted to share that is why we're here. We're not trying to overturn the covenants because y'all have nothing to do with our HOA as far as I'm aware.
Go ahead.
Could you kind of elaborate? You did not know you had a business?
No, we thought we were having people come and pay a donation type fee to participate in yoga to help fund some of the expenses of our rescue. I did not know that it's not a for-profit, and so I did not realize it was a business. I don't think my husband did either, but we never would have knowingly gone. As far as the horses, which I don't think y'all have anything to do with that, but we were told that it was a very simple process to have an amendment made. We have started that process, and it has been quite a debacle due to some issues with attorneys and things. But, we are happy to let the horses go. You can't just, move horses like you can move a shovel. So, we wanted to wait until everything was solidified. But, I can promise you can trust my husband. We wouldn't be here if we weren't going to follow the rules. But we can't just ship 2 horses while we wait on a decision. And if we have to, we will. We have a place for 2 of them so that we can, maintain that. But we were led to believe that this would not be such a major ordeal.
By who?
By I believe by the board. My husband could answer that better. But, that this is what is required, and, you push through. And thought the meeting, I believe, was supposed to be early this year, maybe March, and then it got pushed back to July. And so, we've had these horses, these extra 2, for a while, thinking we were only going to house them temporarily until we had a final decision, and that would be made in February or March. I don't remember what the dates were. And I'm sorry, I didn't intend to get up here, but I got...
Okay, Jerry, I believe, has a question here for you.
I want to ask you if he can explain it better than I can, if the county attorney would explain that.
The association, covenant association,
not
do you
where
want to
we
get
are.
into that, or you want me to do it? Okay. First of all, you may be seated.
Okay.
First, let me see if we've got anyone else that wants to speak. Come on. Because this is a public hearing, we need to get this out of the way.
Just to clarify, we did start an amendment process in July of last year to add horses to our property. The covenants say we can have 5 horses and/or head of cattle, which our attorney actually interprets to say we could have 5 horses and 5 head of cattle, which would be 10 total. In December, we had a horse that we had to put down, and I was presented with another horse that we were going to replace that horse with, and then 2 other horses that were high risk that were going to be put down because they had been exposed to trauma, and they had nowhere else to go, and they would not be adopted. So I've been told, and actually by the property management company, it's Metro Property Management is the one that told us I only needed 50% approval from the neighborhood as opposed to 75%. So I was misled by the property management company. So anyway, I got the 2 horses, or I had these 2 horses that were presented to me. We were told that they were going to be put down because they were not able to be adopted. They were high risk. They needed a place to be, and I thought that we were going to get approved for 10 horses pretty soon. When that didn't happen, I have a place for these other 2 horses, but we're already into the amendment process.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
The restricted covenants, we have no authority having jurisdiction over restricted covenant. That is a HOA function. Where the problem lies is you were taking monetary means for services rendered. That's a business.
Right.
And that's why we're here today, because of you being a business and operating illegally as a business. That's why we're here today. The covenants has no bearing to us whatsoever.
Exactly.
And so that's what we'll make our decision on here tonight is for the business, not the covenants.
Right.
Okay, let's hold this up, and please be seated.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else that has not had a chance to speak? Now's the time.
Just for reference, Danielle, if you could put up the first photographs you had.
Come around to the podium, give us your name.
I apologize. Price Hartman. I live at 451 Annandale and have been there, I think, 13 or 14 years. So Danielle, if you could show that aerial view. So if you see the red top building, Mr. Stephenson's place is on the left with the green around it. I own the property that is to the right of that with the metal building at the top. And I'd like to speak to, personally, I don't care if Rick has his friends out to do yoga. And I know there's a monetary donation, I guess, made to a nonprofit, and that's really, in my opinion, to fund his interest in his hobby. Does he have the property to have yoga? Yes. To me, this comes down to is simply, to what Mr. Gobble said, is to where does it stop? So if we allow him to technically have quota business, and I know there are other businesses in the neighborhood, an internet home business. I don't know of any businesses in the neighborhood that have people that have ingress and egress or add to traffic or in and out of the neighborhood. But the next question is, if the guy wants to start a mechanic business next to Rick, who's got property, do you allow him to have a mechanic business and to have people come in and out? And so it's really a business decision, in my opinion, or a rule decision. Mr. Stephenson bought property that had rules when he bought it. He was given a copy of the covenants. The covenant Stanley plate that it's 75% of the neighborhood has to change the rules, not 50%. If 75% of the neighborhood changes the rules, I don't care what he does. He's got a large enough piece of property, even though it's beside me, my house is far enough away, I don't really see. The traffic can impact the neighborhood on our streets. And then the other question I've got, we're talking about 1 day a week. What if Rick retires and he wants to go to 5 days a week? So again, I'm just posing the question, where does it stop? A business is a business. And for the next guy, if it's somebody that wants to do a hair salon in their house as an official business, do they have to come and get permission? So you have the authority to say yes to Rick under the circumstances and no to the next. So I just want to state personally, I don't mind the yoga, don't mind the horses. I have some opinions on the amount of horses on his property. The covenants say 5. That's what he bought, the covenants, and he paid for the property with a copy of the rules. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? We'll close the public hearing. Let me respond to one thing that you folks, and you probably already know this. It's not up to the government or the Board of Zoning Appeals to enforce your restrictive covenants. That's up to you, your association. You have to do that. What we'll be deciding here is whether this yoga class, nothing else, just this yoga class is appropriate for this site. That's the only thing we'll decide. All of these other issues, that's up to the association to make a decision on. Do you want to add to that?
Just briefly, I think that's right, Mr. Chairman, and just to remind the board of the general requirements, what you're bound here to is whether the proposal is designed, located, and proposed to be operated so that the public health, safety, and welfare will be protected, and whether the proposal is located to be so as to be compatible with the surrounding area and will not adversely affect the other property, and that it conforms with all applicable provisions of the ordinance. So just remember that those are kind of the considerations of what you heard the evidence here today of whether it's compatible, if it'll affect the area or not adversely.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, the problem I've got with it is 20 cars coming down a cul-de-sac, you know, and it was one day a week, but that's to me, you put that many cars in a cul-de-sac, there's going to be problems. And I think it's, to me personally, I think that is adversely affecting the area by the traffic that it's generating in that cul-de-sac. That's where I'm at on it. I agree, the covenants, we have nothing to do with that. That's where I was trying to say a while ago. You know, we have to look at it from the business side of it. And to me, it's adversely affecting the safety in that cul-de-sac by having that many cars coming down one day that week.
I just have a quick point of clarity behind Gary. Aren't we approving the increase up to 30 visitors? No. Okay.
Just for discussion, and no disrespect for anyone's opinion, in my opinion, I've had 4 seniors in high school, and we've had a swimming pool for all 4 of them, and I've had way more than 20 cars on any given day at my house, you know, so I don't feel that that's overly excessive if it's one day a week and for 2 hours. We're not talking, you know, till 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock at night. We're talking 9 a.m. to 11. So in my opinion, I don't see a problem with that issue. And of course, the HOA issue is their issue, not ours.
Well, Mr. Chairman, on yours, that's not a business.
I'm not taking money for
right.
that.
But this
I should have, the chemicals they cost me.
But where I'm at on it is, this is the business. We can't regulate swimming pools
Right,
coming on,
right.
swimming pool parties.
Right.
We're regulating
The monetary issue is what it's putting it to the business. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, we're regulating the
But
business
you were speaking
now.
to the traffic issue, and
right.
that's what I was speaking to.
Yeah, let me add on to the traffic. That comes up quite a bit. And from my perspective, that I've always worked by, if there is a dangerous place where the traffic creates, then it's up to Rutherford County to make that safe. Okay?
We are Rutherford County. So it's up to us to make it safe. Yeah. I want to tell you something. If I lived in that cul-de-sac, I wouldn't want those 20 cars if I had kids out there.
But we have a road board that does that, Gary.
Well, no, they can't enforce that. The developer has built that and turned it over to Rutherford County. So now it's up to us to enforce things. I enforce things every day, so it's up to Rutherford County. It's authority having jurisdiction, and it's been brought to this body to either approve it or deny it based on the facts.
This sounds like a good debate, but anyway, I'm ready for a motion on this. We need to move on.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve with staff comments allowing up to 20.
Okay, we have a motion that be approved. We have a second.
I'll second
Have a
that,
second.
Mike.
Call the roll, please.
Mike Curtis,
Yes.
Amber Brown,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Gary Farley,
Nope.
Renee Curtis, Patrick Hale,
No.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. Okay, it is approved. The next item we have is a request by Zachary Baker, who is requesting a special exemption for a home-based business, and that's a tree service. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2023-28 involves the property at 3619 Rocky Glade Road. It's a request for special exception approval for the establishment of a major home-based business involving tree services upon a property located in the RL, Low Density Residential Zoning District. This is a 5-acre parcel and fairly rural area, and the applicant is asking for approval for a tree service, a company that has been in operation, and this request is the result of a code enforcement complaint, and Mr. Barber is trying to remedy the violation. The services provided by the applicant will be performed off-site, though the applicant indicates that 5 to 6 non-resident persons will be employed. The applicant is seeking approval to park and store the following items on site: 8 trucks, including 2 pickup trucks, 2 chipper trucks, a grapple truck, a bucket truck, and 2 dump trucks, and 3 trailers, including a gooseneck, a bumper pull, and a pintle hitch trailer, and additional equipment including a chipper, 2 mini skid steers, 1 forest mulcher, and 1 stump grinder. The applicant is not proposing any signage. Employees will pick up and drop off vehicles and equipment at the site between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. The parking of the vehicles will take place in front of the garage and along the left side of the property in the gravel area. Business activities may also take place during the weekend due to emergency weather events. The applicant indicates that wood is stored on the property and removed when hauled to sawmills. So that's the wood that they bring back from the sites that they worked on. That burning of the vegetation occurs once every month or month and a half. And the applicant has indicated a willingness to clear additional areas in the back of the property so that storage of equipment and vehicles can be less visible from the right-of-way. Staff finds that it would be challenging for this request to continually meet the standard for all home-based businesses that states the equipment used by the home-based business and the operation of the home-based business shall not create any vibrations, heat, glare, dust, odors, noise, or smoke discernible at the property lines. If the board chooses to approve the application, we are recommending that the applicant seeking approval to store more vehicles and equipment on site and to also have more employees than what's allowed under the major home-based business provisions. So this is the site in question and the surrounding area. And this is the home, the residence of Mr. Barber. This is the gravel area and the barn. I don't believe that the barn is used in the business activities. And here you will see some of the trucks that are being stored on the side of the barn. And the applicant prepared like a small site plan showing this is the area of activity that's involved, that the business will use this area, and employee parking would be located towards the front. And again, he's indicated a willingness to relocate those cars to the rear in case that's an issue. And that concludes our presentation. Oh, by the way, we did receive several informational calls and 3 calls in opposition.
Any question of our staff at this time on this? Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come forward, please.
I'm Zachary Barber. I'm the owner of the Barber's Tree Service. I do know I am a growing business, and I'm not going to deny that. Eventually, I do plan on being bigger, but in a few years, I plan on hopefully being able to get a commercial property or move to another property not in such a housed area, I guess, where my neighbors are directly next to me. But obviously, running a tree business, people think we make a lot of money, but it's a lot of repairs as well. So financials is not always the easiest thing to come by to go out and get commercial property to be able to store my equipment on. I did, on my application, put that I would burn once a month or once every month and a half. I found out some other ways where I don't have to burn at all, so I can limit my smoke and stuff like that affecting neighbors and stuff. We do keep our trucks on the property. They do make some noise, obviously, if we're unloading material. And one of my neighbors is here, and that was his complaint, is the noise. I tried to remedy that with him, but obviously running a business, you're going to have noise with the trucks starting up in the morning and unloading stuff and moving machines around and greasing and stuff like that. I'm basically just asking for approval just until I can get enough time to be able to go find a commercial spot to park all my stuff and run my facility out of there.
You're bringing trees that you cut from other locations to this location to burn. Is that correct?
I did at one point, but now I've got that remedied to where I can take them off to another location once we build up enough material to take and go make money off of.
Okay, you can't burn stuff from one location to another. That's against state law.
Okay.
It has to be burnt on the site.
On the site.
I think that's a good point. I object to this burning on the property.
Yeah.
You've got 2 chipper trucks, so, I don't know what we want to do on that, but that's, you've made a good point.
I deal with that every day.
Yeah.
So I wanted you to know that that's illegal for you to do that.
Yeah, yeah. I found that out.
You don't need to be burning to begin with, even if you cut it down on your own, unless you have a permit to do so.
Yeah.
What do you do with the materials like your chipper truck? What do you do with what's in it?
So the chipper trucks, I do have a chip pile at my house. That is for my shooting range. But I don't always dump chips there. We've got a few farms around us that, one of being Lucky Lads, that he takes the chips and he puts them in his playgrounds and stuff and puts them throughout his animal enclosures. There's also an app that we use called Chip Drop, where homeowners that want wood chips for decompose, or what's it called? Compost, thank you, sorry. Compost piles and stuff like that, or there's the mulch company in Murfreesboro that we'll go dump our chips at there. But I do have a pretty large chip pile at my house, but we do shoot guns and stuff there. So it's kind of like a barricade, so the bullets go into there and kind of like a stop.
So you've almost outgrown to where your business doesn't fit a home-based business anymore. You talked about you've grown. You have more employees than
Yes, I'm aware.
than that type of thing. So a home-based business is supposed to not be seen, not be heard.
Yeah.
Explain to me how that's going to happen for your neighbors.
As far as the scene, I can pretty well do that from the road, like I said, clearing. The herd, I mean, it's my trucks firing up in the morning and then leaving my driveway. That's how they're going to be heard, or if we have to unload some material there till we transport it to another location, that would be my grapple truck. That's going to be kind of the hard part as far as the hearing. I mean, and we're out in the country, so sound travels. So, I mean, I'm sure 3 houses down can hear my trucks or my backup beepers or something like that. They're building a house 3 lots behind us, and when they were doing construction, I could hear them 3 lots behind us. I mean, we're in the country. Sound's going to travel.
Any other questions?
How long have you been operating this business at this property before codes was called?
Since 2018.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this. If you'll come forward this time. You give us your name and any information.
I'm Cheryl Sutherland. I live on the same street on Rocky Glade Road. But as Zach, his business, I've never had a problem. I just know that, okay. I just know that he helps the neighbors if they need help. Storms, I'm sorry, but they're good people. But like in storms and stuff and tragedies, he's always there to help. I don't mean to get emotional. I don't know why I'm doing this, but anyway, there's no problem with his business. I mean, his trucks. I mean, everybody has trucks. I mean, some people have level cars, but as a business, you can't even tell anything's going on there. Like I said, he does yard work and cuts down trees. He's a tree service. So if there's anybody that needs anything done, like myself, he's helped. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please come forward this time.
My name's John Acuff. I live next door to Mr. Barber at 3535 Rocky Glade Road. Ms. Sutherland lives almost a full mile away from that business, and I'm sure she can't hear it. His equipment is so loud in my house that you can't hear yourself think, especially the backup alarms. This is a video from my backyard. It doesn't do the sound justice. That's the grapple truck dropping trees. Man, they're dropping full trees out the back of the dropping full trees. And that video is looking at the sun up. That's 6:04 in the morning. I built my house with 2x6 walls, R19 insulation, a full 65% over minimum code value, and it is still loud in my house. When they drop the trees, it actually rattles the house. The smoke has been an issue. If he can get around that, I mean, I didn't realize you weren't allowed to burn, but the smoke has been an issue for a while. The accumulation of rotten tree material has been an issue to the point that I've just spent $1,700 on termite treatment for my home due to the accumulation of dead tree matter next door and the chip pile. Can you bring up the photographs? That's the piles of wood that we're talking about storing on site. I mean, that's a lot of wood that we're moving from one place to another. Can you go to the next one? That's the ash pile from the burn. That's the size of the equipment that's running up and down the road, and that driveway that runs to the back of the property is 116 feet off the corner of my kid's bedroom. There is no way you can get that truck off the back of that property past my house at 7 o'clock in the morning without creating a disturbance. My wife's a real estate agent. If that gets approved and I go to sell my house, I have to fill out a property disclosure form issuing that business as a nuisance on a real estate listing. That's an issue for me. Can you go to the next one, ma'am? That was the last one. There was another one that I had sent that apparently we didn't get. Actually, it's on the corner over there. These two are off of Zach's website. It shows it being a 24-hour emergency tree service, which is awesome. I'm glad that they have that capability. I don't want that truck running past my kid's bedroom at 1 o'clock in the morning, ever. But that's really all I got, other than a couple of questions on if that's permissible, at what point is it too big to be on site? And how can we possibly have all that and not change the outside characteristics of the dwelling?
Thank you. Wait a minute. Do you have any questions? Anyone else with questions? Thank you. You may be seated. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Come forward now. Give us your name first, please.
My name is Galen Medlin. My wife and I, Sandy, live at 2842 Taylor Lane. That's the last house on Taylor Lane on the east side. I don't know, yeah. My home is the one with the pool in the lower left-hand corner there. After retiring, we moved to Eagleville, built the house in 2017. It was our dream home in retirement. We live on 6 acres right next to my grandkids. We love living in the country. However, lately, the peace and quiet we expected has not been realized. Mr. Barber's business is about 200 yards from my pool and my patio area. We expected to hear cows, horses, wildlife, but we didn't expect to hear major trucks, major industrial noise pollution that starts about 6:30 in the morning and runs for about 2 hours, and then it can run throughout the day. I like to go to the patio early in the morning. I get up early, go out there. Sometimes I read, sometimes I just sit there, sometimes I do my morning devotion. But it is not a very tranquil environment now. It's very miserable to be out there to hear the beep, 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 beep constantly of the trucks backing up. Also, where that is located, I think it's a major risk for those trucks pulling out on Rocky Glade because there's a curve and a hill that comes down right before you get to his drive. It's just a matter of time until we have a major accident there. I congratulate Mr. Barber on doing so well at his age to have a major business, but I think he needs to conduct his business in a commercial location where it doesn't bother the neighbors. I've got a house that's valued at $1.2 million there. I don't want it to be devalued by a major commercial property, just like John said. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next. Anyone else?
All right, y'all. My name is Brian Sutherland. I live on Rocky Glade, right at 0.9 miles of tractor on the way home today from the Barber's Tree Service, which is only 4 houses because it is country, as he stated. However, my point being, people talk about backup horns, beepers. If you live in the city, do not all garbage truck have beepers. You hear those in the city also. Now, being in the country, you go down 5 more houses down towards Eagleville, you're at a farm. Do farmers have set times? Farmers' equipment start up all day long, every day. Farmers don't have set times. Okay, so what's the difference in him running that business in the country than a farmer running his business a mile down the road? Businesses are businesses. You know, was it legal to begin with? And he being at that establishment, no, but he's trying to make it right. But we're in the country. And, I mean, it's business. You have noises. You have loud noises. It is what it is. And they're not starting before dark or anything else. I mean, you can pose me on this if you'd like, but there's farmers cut hay during the summertime, start at 6 a.m. right down the street from me. We're in a rural area.
That's your question. Do you think that he may have outgrown his business since he's been there?
Outgrown? No. I mean, I do not. He has more than what he started with, yes. But if he gets any bigger than what he is now, yes. But where he stands at this time, which he stated, if he gets any bigger, he's looking for a commercial property. You just can't go right now. And I agree with that. I mean, it's hard to find a commercial property, especially as a small business. And that's something hard to do, but I 100% agree with him. I mean, if he's actively looking, grace period, if nothing else.
But you do agree he may have outgrown his
No,
business?
I don't think he's outgrown yet, but he's on the path to outgrowing, and he stated that. And he's going to be looking for a place to move, and that's great. I'm happy for him. I mean, I'm happy to see somebody better themselves in any way possible.
Oh, I agree.
That's what the country's founded on.
And I agree with that. It's just that when, at a certain point, when you outgrow something, it causes a problem for, for others.
Yes, but I
that's
stated
right.
I don't think he's outgrown yet. I think he's at his maximum, and if he gets any bigger, sure, yes. But before he gets any bigger, he said he's actively looking, and I think a grace period would establish, would be great for him, just as a small business trying to make it.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
May I ask staff, we don't grant temporary grace periods, right? We either yay or nay. Is that correct, sir?
I may piggyback off of Danielle on this one, but 1 second. Typically, we have not. Now, there have been times, and I think it's permissible if the circumstances warrant it, that there can be special conditions placed on the granting of the special exception permit to limit the injurious effects and the time frame. But again, you need to have a basis on the front end to grant it as well. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Still needs to meet the requirements, and you can always put a time limitation on it. It lasts for a year or 2 years or whatever, but it still has to meet the base requirements that it's compatible with the area, it conforms with the zoning district, et cetera.
For example, we could say no burn.
Yes, you could do that.
Yeah. Go ahead, I'm sorry, your name and...
Hi, I'm Justin Bright. I'm Zach's partner. I think one way, he's already said he'll stop the burn, so that'll alleviate the ash that gets on Mr. John's car, trucks. And then also, he said the grapple truck. That's the only one that beeps, and we can figure that out right now. Me and Zach's already thought about it. We'll just move the grapple truck to my house, where there ain't gonna be no problems. Let the other trucks stay until he can find a spot to where he can move his business.
Until we saw the pictures, I didn't realize that you guys were grinding stuff there.
What do you mean grinding stuff there?
Well, we saw where you guys had been sawing trees and brush and stuff, so are you...
It's chipper.
We don't ship anything on site.
So you bring the material?
So the only reason we bring the materials because they're usually close to the house. We try to make the last job close to the house. That way the boys can just come home, leave, and in the morning, the only reason we empty the grapple truck or used to was just so we can get it ready to where it goes to the wood guy, which is down the road. It's an old man. He heats his house with wood. We're nice enough to give it to him for free. So that's what we do. We try to help him out by cutting it up into certain lengths or say, whatever may help him. But we can stop that. So to where the chip trucks come in full, we usually go to mulch company or we go to Lads, and we give it to them for free.
So the stuff that the grapple was putting in that truck.
Stuff that it was taking out was wood. It was stacking it to the side because at the time there was about a 3-month period that we filled up our wood guy, so we had to find multiple sources. So we got them now, but there was a 3-month period where we were probably taking advantage of the thing, because in the very beginning, Mr. John told Zach that he had soundproof walls, and as long as you're not being crazy with it. So we probably took advantage of that, and we apologize. We didn't mean to, but when you tell somebody you got soundproof walls to a young business owner, that's striving to do more, we probably overstepped, which we'll be more than happy to fix. So we'll fix the parking of the big truck that beeps to where neither one of the homeowners have to hear it. We can bring it to my house, which I don't live anywhere close to them, and they can park at there. None of the other trucks beep. Let them stay there at the other house, or at Zach's house, and that should handle both the problems, and we just won't bird anymore.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
See, anyone else, come forward.
You hear me? Okay, so my name is Jason Jensen, and I apologize, I'm not a public speaker. So that being said, I've also got ADD, so I'm disorganized. But no matter what my opinion is, at the end of the day, I think I recognize most of you. Y'all got to be neighbors, and I'll do anything for any of you guys, just the same, based on that. But when approached with this dilemma from Mr. Barber, I had a lot of controversy because I do like seeing a young man, younger than myself actually, do pretty well for himself. But I do acknowledge that over time I've heard it. I've smelt the smoke, which obviously that might not be an issue no more.
Pardon me, sir. What was your address?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's 3508 Rocky Glade Road. It's actually across the street. And then actually, in the mix of all this, I bought the property next door to Mr. Barber on the right side there of the box as a rental house. And that's actually part of my thought process in this too. So my wife actually, she grew up 2 doors down, and she's lived there her entire life. So within that 150, 200 feet, it is very peaceful and quiet until we hear tree stuff. We joke about it, we laugh about it. And like I said, I do hope you well, Zach, on everything. But that being said, I think somebody said the business hours are 7 to 6. It's definitely starting before 7 o'clock, and it's gone later than 6 o'clock. Last night I was at my investment next door, the rental house next door, and it was, I think, 7:05 when the truck pulled in, and then not to swear to it, but I think it pulled out again a little bit later, but maybe not. That's something that when I rent this house out, do I got to deal with a complaint of these people renting the house? They're paying, fair market value to rent the place. They're going to hear it. Not that are they going to hear it? They probably will most likely hear it, and that could be an issue for me.
Your 3 minutes is up. You need to finish up, please.
I apologize. To what extent does it stop? Mr. Barber himself, I think, in conversation said that he feels like it's at the limit of the property, or possibly exceeded the limit a little bit. And I guess my question is to where does it become a limit? Thank you for your guys' time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Carlton Mercer. I live directly across from Mr. Barber. Wasn't going to say much today. Was going to sit back and see what was going on. I hear the Sutherlands. I appreciate you coming down, talking in his behalf. That's great, but you're not directly across. So those sound waves are a lot louder, especially across. Yes, there's a lot of trucks over there, traffic. Things go on. He's a growing company. I want him to see him succeed. I told him that from the very get-go. My problem to this is, has it got that big? Has it overgrown its limits? I hate to say it, Zach said it himself. I didn't say it. He's at his max. I know there's trucks that are very close to being limit once they're loaded with the weight of those trees going across the interstate and thing. That's a whole different matter. That's a DOT problem. I know that because I'm a truck driver, used to be. Now I'm a manager of a big company, Big G Express. So with that being said, noise, growth, time. I don't mind him having some time to get his act and get what he needs done. I don't want to take his business away. That I do not like. I want to see the man progress. Does he need to progress where he's at? That's the question. That is the main question. He's been there for this long. He's tried to get all this stuff organized, and I know he's been working to clean it up. With that being said, where are we going to be at 6 months to a year or 2 years? Are we going to be able to do something better and be on a commercial property? Because there is the thought of you're out there with those big trucks across those roads, especially the rural area. Kids have nowhere else to be except riding the bike on a dirt thing or
you
on
need
the
to
street.
finish up.
Yes,
You need to
sir.
finish up.
I am. But here's my thing. It's all about safety. And if the growth keeps on growing, we won't be safe all the way around. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? That hasn't had a chance to speak? Close the public hearings. Any comments from the board? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I do not believe that what the applicant is requesting is allowed within the major home-based business based on the staff comments and what we've heard here today.
Let me also point out, I'm sorry to interrupt you. According to our staff findings, does not meet all of the general requirements.
Yes, sir, that's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
And as such, I don't believe it's within our purview with this board to approve this, and as such, I'm going to move to deny it.
Move that it be denied. Do we have a second?
I'll second it because it adversely affects the area that it's in.
Any other comments? Call the roll, please.
Mike Curtis,
Yes.
Amber Brown,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Renee Curtis,
Yes.
Patrick Hale,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
Let me ask a question to legal and to the building official, code officials. There's going to be some time that this has got to be cleaned up, and in my opinion, there needs to be a plan of corrective action that we've got documented on how this is going to go about. That way, we've got something in writing from the applicant telling us how we're going to do it. That because when it doesn't get done, there's going to be a problem for you.
Right. So typically, when a business like this, an application like this is denied at the Board of Zoning Appeals, we will follow it up with a letter to the applicant reminding them that they were denied, and they will have 30 days to remove all the business equipment and cease and desist the activity on the property.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Attorney, do you have any comment?
No.
We are adjourned then. Thank you for everybody for being here. We'll see you this time next month.